Hello and welcome everybody to our next reading of The Great Exodus or The Time of the End. How near are we to it? And I'm joined here with both Michael and Jörg in Europe. And today we are looking at I believe this is the 17th or 18th session of our reading on this Sunday, September 15, 2019. Welcome, Michael.
Welcome, Bret. Thanks for having me, and I hope that you had already your breakfast, didn't you?
Nope. Nope. I usually sleep in on the weekends, and, for whatever reason in this Antichrist system, everyone takes Sunday off, so it's a very quiet morning here. It's always the best morning to sleep in, which it should be Saturday, but regardless, Saturday's more of an agitated day than Sunday here. But that's Antichrist for you, eh? Mm-hmm. He shall think to change times and laws. And that's what's happened in Europe and the United States, both. They push Sunday on us, and we have to swallow it. And, it's just like the Catechism of the Council of Trent, They push that too, but not in an open way. They do it in a backhanded way in the Lutheran Church, I know that. And they introduce these spiritual exercises and the retreats and all that. So, yeah, nothing new under the sun. They have ways of dealing with heretics. And whether you like it or not, that's what you get. So, did I lose connection?
No. I was wondering the same thing, but you're still there.
Oh, yeah. Please, Michael.
But I don't know where Jörg is.
Oh,
waiting
he's here.
To be introduced.
Yes. Jörg Glissman from Belgium. Jörg, we were just talking about how Jesuit the world has become. And I think that in my country, in the United States, we're dealing with a problem that can't hardly be even recognized by the public.
Yeah,
let alone dealt with, yeah.
The problem is that the Americans don't know their own true history. And
yes.
Their own true history is written down in two very infamous books, as long as you consider the role of the Jesuits in the founding of your country, your nation. And the one is the one book is called The Ark and the Dove. That is a book from Amos Ives. I'm going to show you.
Ooh, I've got a copy of that sitting right here.
I'm going to show you a picture here for our spectators in the video here. If my computer wants to wake up, he has the same problem that you sometimes have.
Hey, I have something in common with your silicone.
Just
kidding.
I said Amos Ives. I don't know under which word I saved the picture of this book. He's looking now for the Ark. It's the Ark and the Dove, tralala, tralala, all these pictures. So where is it? Where is this damnable little book? Come on.
It's true, isn't it?
That is not normal. That is absolutely not normal. Okay, so when you write Ark with a K, then you got it.
Yes.
So that's this book, the Ark and the Dove, by Amos Ives, and that speaks about these two ships that set off sail in the end of, I think it was somewhere in the close of October or November, 1633 in England, good old England, and then set sail to the New World and arrived there in March, if I'm not mistaken, in 1634. And there were many Jesuits undercover on that ship. And they landed there. And why they got there, how they got there, and what are their instructions is all written down in this book by J. Ives, who, by the way, writes this book from a Catholic perspective. So when you read this book, you should really know how Catholics write, meaning that you should identify, or you should be able to identify their lies and their sophistic and casuistic expressions within a book. And if you're not fit for that, then go into the archives of First Amendment Radio and listen to, I think, 2009 reading of Tom Fress of the book The Ark and the Dove.
Oh, I got to interrupt you, Jörg, really quick, just to mention that First Amendment Radio is actually uploading The Ark and the Dove as we speak, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So you can go straight to First Amendment Radio YouTube and find Tom's reading of The Ark and the Dove being uploaded at the present time, I believe.
Okay, so maybe you can do that and then later serve us with the link and put the link in the description box of the video.
Good idea.
So people can have a look at this. So this is the one book. And the other book is, of course, the book that by the way, Tom read that also on First Amendment Radio, but I read the book also in English, and I'm busy doing that right now in German, reading that book in German on my channel that is called The Rulers of Evil by Frederick Tapasorsi. And when you have those two books, when you have read those two books, and when you are able to lay connections that are not that obvious, but that are very obvious when you study real history, you will see from the connection between what Tapasorsi writes in 1996 and what J. Ives writes about the time of the beginning of the 17th century, you will see how the real founding fathers of the United States of America never ever were the people that you are taught in school and university and on television, on the History Channel, and all this indoctrinating devices. No, but you will see that there were surely quite different powers. Powers that, quote-unquote, spake as a lamb, but actually acted as a dragon. Yeah? To use a little bit wording of that we know from the book of Revelation in the Bible, of course. Yeah, they succeeded therein to let the United States look for centuries even a Protestant country without putting any word of the Bible, any expression of the Bible, any link to the Bible in either their constitution or their Bill of Rights anyway. But people fall for it, you know. You are taught, oh, this is a Christian country, this is a Protestant country, and of course you don't see that the angel also was changed in that Satan also was changed into an angel of light. And this is the same policy of the United States of America. It's very interesting. So read these books or go to the readings of J. Ives by Tom Fress on First Amendment Radio, Rulers of Evil on the same channel on First Amendment Radio. You can go for Tom Fress, or you can go to my channel and have a look at my reading of Rulers of Evil I did a few years ago. And then you will really know about the real founding of the United States of America. And that is so with many, many things. We are so betrayed in everything that we quote-unquote know that we have no idea how betrayed we are. And then there are some people in this world who are really going to help us. And these people are most of the time not even alive anymore, but dead people. Saints, the Bible calls them when they are living. Yeah. And among those, I count the 19th century author from good old England again, James Aitken Wylie. He provided us with a book that is called The Great Exodus, and we are today here for the 18th reading of that book. We should start on page 181. And he tells us in this very first little paragraph that we are going into, he speaks of a document of remarkable kind, and one coeval, means in the same time interval with Darius himself, has just the other day been brought to light. This document throws fresh interest and intelligence upon the prophecy we are considering. We are speaking about the 7 times. We are speaking about the prophecy and the understanding of the time in the world of the 2,520 days, or years. And we refer to the Graven rock of Behistun. That is what James Atkin Wylie says. And when I first read that last time, or the time before when we did the study, I had no idea what the guy was talking about. What is the Graven rock at Behistun? I mean, everybody knows about this Rosetta Stone, and how important that Rosetta Stone was for identifying the hieroglyphics of the Egyptians. What the freak is the rock at Behistun? So I looked it up, and I think we are going into a little study on, even if it's from Wikipedia, that tells us about the Behistun inscription. Because it is so interesting, and you will see that right when I finish the very first paragraph here. The Behistun inscription is a multilingual inscription and large rock relief on a cliff at Mount Behistun in the Kermanshah province of Iran, a country the world today absolutely hates and wants to destroy, because that is also the part of the cradle of mankind, near the city of Kermanshah in western Iran, established by Darius the Great, who lived between 522 and 486 BC. It was crucial to the decipherment of the cuneiform script, as the inscription includes 3 versions of the same text, written in 3 different cuneiform script languages: Old Persian, Elamite, and Babylonian, a variety of the Akkadian. The inscription is to cuneiform what the Rosetta Stone is to Egyptian hieroglyphs, the document most crucial in the decipherment of a previously lost script. Now, what are your comments to this very first introducing comment that I just paragraph that I just read? Do you have any opinion on what I just read here, what that really means?
Wow. This is jaw dropper.
Nobody ever speaks of that, eh?
No.
Seems that the Persian Empire wasn't that unimportant as it seemed.
No, but have you ever heard anybody speak of the Behistun inscription? As I said, I always know the Rosetta Stone.
Not once ever. Look at that UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Yeah.
Excuse me, who's UNESCO?
I'm just opening that in a second, but look here to this little link that opens up the Rosetta Stone.
This is really weird.
The Rosetta Stone is known by everybody, but who knows the Behistun inscription? Yeah, let's have a look at this picture a little bit bigger. Look this up. This is huge. The Rosetta Stone fits in there probably 200 times, if not more. It's huge. Oh, we will get to the
I'm still waking
measurements.
up over here. I'm sorry, guys. You guys are way ahead of me.
Look,
man.
the inscription is approximately 49 feet high by 82 feet wide and 330 feet up.
Sure.
Can you imagine that? That Rosetta Stone fits in there 1,000 times.
Babylonian, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And nobody ever told me in history about this. And I watched so many history videos from, for example, I don't know, Walter Fight and all that stuff, because that's the first thing you fall onto when you are are coming to the truth.
Right. The secret behind secret societies.
And all that stuff.
Things like this, yeah.
I never heard anybody speak of the Behistun inscription, because otherwise I would have looked it up earlier.
Of course not. No.
So this is really
wow, he's got a cone head on it on the right there. What's that? That
cone head? What do you mean?
Yeah, on the far right, this guy.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with that? Hey, look, they had the KKK back in Babylon. What's new? Nothing new under the sun, eh?
He looks like a garden dwarf from Germany. With that hat.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something else.
But anyway, I mean, this is just incredible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's try to go back to the page here. So, because otherwise it's too big. I want to go back to the article.
Please do.
It has inscriptions in 3 different languages, and the inscription is to cuneiform what the Rosetta Stone is to Egyptian hieroglyphs. So why is the whole world always upset with Egyptian hieroglyphs and with Egyptian pyramids and with Egyptian gods and this and that Egyptian, and nobody cares about the stuff coming out of Babylon? Do you have an answer, Bret? Because if you don't, I have an answer.
Well, please just go ahead here.
They don't want us to know about the real historical roots of humanity, or of mankind, better said. They want to distract us with this Egyptian BS, so that nobody comes to the idea, well, look, at Babylon, there you find more truth, because there's only one book in this whole world that explains to mankind where Babylon comes from. And that's the book that nobody wants to read anymore. The Holy Book. The Bible. So everything leading back to Babylon must be taken out of the senses of the people living today. So nothing of Babylon is being taught in schools, in universities, in history classes, on the Hitlery channel or History channel or whatever you're going to call them. That's
of course
the problem.
not, because we got to go back to the Sumerians. We got to go back billions of years. Oh, it's not millions. It's infinitile years now. I mean, come on. This is so disgusting how this works. I mean, how about recorded history? We only have records going back how many thousands of years? Not more than 6,000 years.
No,
so how can you?
Not even 6,000.
Yeah, I mean, how can you even say that? Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's thousands, like what, 4,000, right, or 5,000?
I think it goes back quite after the time of the flood, which must be about 4,500 to 4,000 years after from here back.
Right, because it all got wiped out. That's right. The flood
Everything
wiped
before
it
the
out.
flood. Yeah, most of the before the flood. Because
and remember the ark was found where? On Mount Jehoshaphat, where the Bible says it is? And we can't say that there's a did I say ark? I meant to say the Noah's Ark, of course.
When you're speaking of Mount Ararat?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in Turkey, right? So, we're dealing with Iran, which is not far from Turkey, from what I understand.
Absolutely.
I've never been there. My brother's been to.
Here's the card, brother. Here's
area,
the card.
but this
is North America, North Africa. Sorry.
Sure.
This part here is North Africa. And this is the peninsula where this glass is, or whatever you're going to call this. This is Palestine.
Sure.
Saudi Arabia, all that stuff.
Sure.
And Iran is up here somewhere. And here you go into Greece. Yeah. This is how they call that. Something with.
The Mediterranean.
Asia Minor. Huh?
Asia Minor.
Asia Minor, they call that. I mean, here's India, the big one here. That's India. Mm-hmm. Next to here, there's China. Here above is Russia, and then Kazakhstan, and all this stuff. And this is Africa. This is Egypt here, and they keep us busy with Egypt, and they never tell us about what happened in here, in this region. Yeah. So you have this little dot here, this little red dot, and there you see where the Behistun inscription was found. That's exactly there. And they never teach us about that, do they? Why, do you think? Well, that's the same reason, at least in my mind, brother, that is the same reason why they don't teach Americans the true history of the coming into existence of their nation as they know it today.
Of course, yeah.
Because if people knew, people would rebel.
Let's go back to the $1 bill for just a second. I mean, when you look at the $1 bill, people practically worship it as a god. I mean, it's an image. You have the all-seeing eye above the pyramid, right? So, it's all money. Oh, I want the green, it's stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, we've been dumbed down to the point where
it isn't even money.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
It isn't even real money, you see.
Of course not.
It's a debt note.
It's a debt note. Yeah. Yeah. In 1913, they established the Federal Reserve in the United States. And, yeah. I mean,
speaking of a debt
scam.
note, written DEBT, but actually it is a DEAD note.
Yeah, it sure is. Totally dead.
Yeah.
No life at all. It's anti-life. We're going to soak it all out of you with our mortgages and our loans. And, oh, yeah, well, that's just part of the institution of life. You're going to have to take out loans to get any kind of, get ahead in the world. You have to take out a loan, see? And then you have to pay it back at interest. I mean, that's how they teach us, We're taught through lucre. Great. Thanks a lot, Satan. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's life in the Western Empire, like it or not. And in the United States, we're for some reason, in God we have disobeyed, I think. In God we have,
God we trust, but the problem is, brother, they never tell you which God.
Yeah, right.
There's no copyright.
Yeah. The God of this world we trust. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what it really means. Yeah, the Pope. In the Pope we trust, yeah.
The little God in Rome instead of the great God in heaven. The only one who is God.
G, right?
Yeah.
The little G who goes around with a compass and a square calling himself, a Christian, who reads the Bible and goes to your church every Sunday. Yeah, that guy.
So you see, we are already making a 15-minute broadcast on one little sentence that goes, the inscription is to cuneiform what the Rosetta Stone is to Egyptian hieroglyphs. The document most crucial in the decipherment of a previously lost script. Why didn't anybody teach that to anybody of us when we were in school? Why don't we see this in big letters in newspapers and everywhere else? And why is not anyone telling us what is in there? So I suggest we go back to Wikipedia and read this Wikipedia article. It says, authored by Darius the Great, sometime between his coronation as king of the Persian Empire in the summer of 522 BC and his death in autumn of 486 BC, the inscription begins with a brief autobiography of Darius, including his ancestry and lineage. Later in the inscription, Darius provides a lengthy sequence of events following the death of Cyrus the Great and Cambyses II, in which he fought 19 battles in a period of 1 year, ending in December 521 BC. And I think that I go out of a limb here if I tell you that it probably was December 25th or something. To put down multiple rebellions throughout the Persian Empire. The inscription states in detail that the rebellions which had resulted from the death of Cyrus the Great and his son Cambyses II were orchestrated by several impostors and their co-conspirators in various cities throughout the empire, each of whom falsely proclaimed kinghood during the upheaval following Cyrus' death. Now I know why they don't teach that in mainstream media. It is about conspiracy. It's about conspirators. Oh, that does not exist because there is no conspiracy in this world, right?
Ask Julius Caesar.
No, I think also the problem is that many of these names mentioned here are to be found in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And how can you teach history in the world when the same history is to be found in a book that we are taught is a fairy tale?
Yeah, it's 2 Chronicles.
Thanks, Michael.
Cyrus, king of Persia.
That's very much appreciated, your effort. Yeah. See, this is the point that I'm going to make and that Michael is supporting and that Bret also is supporting, of course. When something is written in the Bible and the same names are to be found in secular history books, you don't know what to believe anymore. Maybe all of a sudden you leave the secular history books, throw them to the ground where they belong, and pick up the Bible, the only real true history book. And I mean, all three of us can full-heartedly say that it is a history book because we read Albert Close's book, The Divine Program of the World's History, didn't we?
We sure did. Yes, we did.
So therefore, why do you need any other history but the history of God as He wrote it before the world even came into existence? And then He used men living in this world, imputing them with the right Spirit, the only Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and they pinned down what God had to tell them. And that book today we call the Bible, preferably the book that we use, the 1611 King James Bible. How about all of a sudden you find the conspiracies that are left out in our handbooks when we go to school, written down in the book of books, in the holy word of God? How about that? Oh, many people would all of a sudden find their faith, understand that the Bible is not a book written by man, but written by a higher power that spoke everything into existence. Well,
yeah, that's real power.
That's real power.
Real power. Yes, it is.
Spirit can create matter. Matter can't create anything, let alone spirit. Darius the Great proclaimed himself victorious in all 19 battles during the period of upheaval, attributing his success to the grace of Ahura Mazda. Who is Ahura Mazda? I drove a Mazda when I was a young guy, and it was a wonderful car. And I had no idea that the names of car companies had anything to do with heathen or pagan gods. But this little article here in Wikipedia tells us that Ahura Mazda is the creator and highest deity of Zoroastrianism. Ahura Mazda is the first and most frequent invoked spirit in the yasna. The literal meaning of the word Ahura is Lord, and that of Mazda is wisdom. Lord of wisdom. So Darius attributed his success to the grace of the Lord of wisdom. The inscription, approximately 15 meters or 49 feet high, by 25 meters or 82 feet wide, and 100 meters or 330 feet up a limestone cliff from an ancient road connecting the capitals of Babylonia and Media. We speak about the Medo-Persian kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Old Persian text contains 414 lines and 5 columns. The Elamite text includes 593 lines and 8 columns, and the Babylonian text is in 112 lines. The inscription was illustrated by a life-sized bas-relief of Darius I the Great holding a bow as a sign of kingship, with his left foot on the chest of a figure lying on his back before him. So I guess this picture here that we have here is his foot lying on this guy beneath him. So this is Darius here. Okay? Still figuring out who this garden elf is. Yeah, this in Germany we have these.
We have them here too.
How are we calling these, Michael, in English? What is the English name?
Dwarf, huh?
Garden
dwarf.
Dwarf. Yeah. It's a garden dwarf. Yeah, it's a dwarf. Yeah, exactly. But of course, this hat, now without any joke, is a resemblance to a druid, if you ask me.
Yeah, and also there is a resemblance to the horn of what's the English name?
What's the German name? Maybe I can.
Füllhorn.
I don't know that in English.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
It's this horn where everything comes out that you need, like money and gold and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's a mystical horn, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back. But here you see Darius putting his feet upon, as the text says, this figure lying on his back before him. The supine figure.
That looks like a pose that Ignatius Loyola did too, up in the Vatican, right? Where they have that statue of Ignatius Loyola stepping on the heretic.
Yeah, and you also have the statue in the Church of the Gesu, where Mary is stepping on the two Protestants, Luther and Calvin, I think it is.
Ah, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting figure now. Anyway, the supine figure is reputed to be the pretender Gomata. Darius is attended to the left by two servants, and 9 1-meter figures stand to the right, with hands tied and rope around their necks, representing conquered peoples. So let's see it in this regard. Those are these guys here, with ropes around their neck here, ropes around their hand, as you can see here, all coming up to Darius. And here are the two priests behind him, the one wearing the bow that he also has here in his hand, if I can see correctly. This is also a bow here, the sign of his power. Yeah, and this last one here is also. But I think it is quite interesting that all of these have bald heads, have no hat on, and the last one has this special hat on. There must be a meaning to that that is not told us. That is not told
it's
to us right
Miraculix.
Yeah, that's why I told you Druids, and Druids. Druids not only from Gallic, from France in the time, but also from England. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for the correct word of this horn. I mean, it's a horn of Cornu, but I will look it up.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody has his duties during this reading here. A Faravaha floats above. What's a Faravaha? I don't know what that is, and it doesn't open here, so. This one. Okay, this is a Faravaha.
Aha, that's right.
Is one of the most well-known symbols of Iran and Zoroastrianism, the primary religion of Iran before the Muslim conquest of Persia, and of Iranian nationalism. There are various interpretations of what the Faravaha symbolizes, but there is no universal consensus, so no Catholic consensus on what it means.
Maybe the pharaoh? I don't know.
A Faravaha floats above. Yeah, that's here, of course, and there's even someone standing in it, right? So anyway, a Faravaha floats above, giving its blessing to the king. One figure appears to have been added after the others were completed, as was Darius's beard, which is a separate block of stone attached with iron pins and lead. One figure appears to have been added after the others were completed. Now, what is the figure that was added? It could be this one, right? Because he walks in a greater difference to these guys. He has a special head on.
Nicht die normale Klasse. Wir fingen ja business class.
Yeah, that would be fine. So I don't know whose other figure was added, and it's not of this importance for the reading that we have that we go into today. But it says so that it is a separate block of stone attached with iron pins and lead. Now a little bit about the history then of the Behistun stone. After the fall of the Persian empires, Achaemenid dynasty and its successors, and the lapse of Old Persian cuneiform writing into disuse, the nature of the inscription was forgotten and fanciful explanations became the norm. Well, the most fanciful explanation today is, we forgot to tell you about its existence altogether because we thought it of no interest for you. For centuries, the article continues to say, instead of being attributed to Darius the Great, it was believed to be from the reign of Khosrau II of Persia, one of the last Sassanid kings who lived over 1,000 years after the time of Darius the Great. So that is about 500 or 600 AD. The inscription is mentioned by Ctesias of Cnidus. That is a strange name here. Ctesias, also known as Ctesias the Cnidian, was a Greek physician and historian from the town of Cnidus in Caria, when Caria was part of the Achaemenid Empire. Okay, I've just read to you a few words that I have no understanding of.
May I add that Darius also is mentioned in the book of Ezra?
Darius is in any way mentioned in the Bible. That was my point, but it's nice that you point out the exact places where they are. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Michael.
also in Nehemiah and Daniel 5 and 6.
So
and
that's
9.
already 5 different books or 4 different books in the Bible where he is mentioned.
It's many more, much more.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
So the inscription is mentioned by Xistias of Cnidus, who noted its existence sometime around 400 BC, so that's about 150, 200 years after Darius reigned, right? And mentioned a well and a garden beneath the inscription. He incorrectly concluded that the inscription had been dedicated by Queen Semiramis of Babylon to Zeus. Queen Semiramis of Babylon to Zeus. Well, Zeus was a name that was not in use in the time of Semiramis of Babylon, of course.
Yeah, she must be immortal.
This is time-lapping, you know. This is Semiramis looking into the future of what they call Nimrod a few hundred years or 1,000 years later, when we come to the Grecian Empire from the Babylonian that fell before.
Yeah. Speaking of Nimrod, did you know that Nimrod also means the horn?
No, maybe that's the horn you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I mean, that's cornucopia, but it has another shape, so it cannot be the same.
I was just kidding.
Ah, okay.
Of course.
I thought you got my sarcasm.
I did. I muted my mic. You couldn't hear me laugh.
Oh, that's a shame for the few times that you laughed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tacitus also mentions it and includes a description of some of the long-lost ancillary documents at the base of the cliff, including an altar. What is an altar for? To make sacrifices, right? To Heracles. What has been recovered of them, including a statue dedicated in 148 BC, is consistent with Tacitus's description. Diodorus, and that is a well-known historian, also writes of Behistun and claims it was inscribed by Semiramis. A legend began around Mount Behistun, as written about by the Persian poet and writer Ferdowsi. Ferdowsi. In his Shahanem, which is in the Book of Kings, or which is a Book of Kings, I guess. This is not referring to the Book of Kings in the Bible. 1000 AD, about a man named Farhad, who was a lover of King Khosrow's wives, Shirin. The legend states that exiled for his transgression, but that's only a transgression when you believe in the rule of God. Otherwise, it is no transgression to be a lover of a king's wife. It's because we are speaking about the transgression here of adultery, and that is not with the heathen, because the heathen have no morals, because they do not believe in the God of the Bible, right? So how can they use in this article the word transgression when among pagans it is absolutely normal to fornicate and commit adultery? I ask myself here. Okay, sarcasm off. Farhad was given the task of cutting away the mountains to find water. If he succeeded, he would be permission to marry Shirin. After many years and the removal of half the mountain, he did find water, but was informed by Khosrow that Shirin had died. He went mad, threw his axe down the hill, kissed the ground, and died. It is told in the book of Khosrow and Shinin that his axe was made out of a pomegranate tree, and where he threw the axe, a pomegranate tree grew with fruit that would cure the ill. Shirin was not dead, according to the story, and mourned upon hearing the news. And that he throws away an axe made of pomegranate tree wood, and out of that old tree comes a new tree. Well, that is, of course, pagan, idolatric religion, like, you know, with the evergreen tree they put in Christmas into the houses that out of an old stump there comes a new tree. That is old pagan religion already. You see this repeated here. Now in 1598, the Englishman Robert Shirley saw the inscription during a diplomatic mission to Persia on behalf of Austria and brought it to the attention of Western European scholars. His party incorrectly came to the conclusion that it was Christian in origin. Well, one reason more to hide it, right? French General Graven thought it showed Christ and his 12 apostles. And Sir Robert...
Oh boy, I guess the delusion isn't new. It's been around for a while.
Christ and his 12 apostles. Let's just have a look at the picture again.
I'm sorry, I have to laugh.
Okay, assuming that this is Christ, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Where's the 12? Maybe this one
up
here
in
the
the
sky.
air.
I don't know. Or maybe this is Christ and these are the 12 apostles, and the great one here must be Peter.
That's Paul up there.
No, the big one here must be Peter. Because that's the
You're
rock
right.
the Roman Catholic Church built upon. And by the way, the 12th is lying here on the ground. He's stepping on him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You got 12. And the 13th one, well, that's a mystery. We don't talk about this one. Okay? Oh, come on. Christ and his 12 disciples. Oh, how ridiculous can you get? Huh? This is incredible.
Wait, though, that's a total of 13 figures, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. There's that number 13 again. Gee, where did that come from, huh?
Stands for rebellion, eh?
Could it come from Babylon? I mean, this is from Babylon. Gee, wow, this is great. Thank you, Jörg.
Yeah, okay. So, hey, close. Let's go back to the text. Where was I? Oh, I took a little note. I made it blue here, and now it's gone. Oh, yeah. And mourned upon hearing the news. Okay, this is where we were. In 1598, Englishman Robert Shirley saw the inscription during a diplomatic mission on Persia on behalf of Austria and brought it to the attention of Western European scholars. His party incorrectly came to the conclusion that it was Christian origin. French General Graven thought it showed Christ and his 12 apostles, and Sir Robert Kerr Porter thought it represented the lost tribes of Israel and the Shalmaneser of Assyria. Italian explorer Pietro della Valle visited the inscription in the course of a pilgrimage in around 1621. So it has been around all the time from almost the time of the Reformation on, right? The midst or the end of the 16th century on here. Now there were translation efforts made. The German surveyor Carsten Niebuhr visited in around 1764 for Frederick V of Denmark, publishing a copy of the inscription in the account of his journeys in 1778. Niebuhr's transcriptions were used by Georg Friedrich Grotefend and others in their effort to decipher the Old Persian cuneiform script. Grotefend had deciphered 10 of the 37 symbols of Old Persian by 1802, after realizing that unlike the Semitic cuneiform scripts, Old Persian text is alphabetic and each word is separated by a vertical slanted symbol. The Old Persian text was copied and deciphered before recovery and copying of the Elamite and Babylonian inscriptions had even been attempted, which proved to be a good deciphering strategy since Old Persian script was easier to study due to its alphabetic nature and because the language it represents and naturally evolved via Middle Persian to the living modern Persian language dialects, and was also related to the Avestan language used in Zoroastrian book of the Avesta. Avestan language is also known historically as Zend, comprises two languages, Old Avestan and Younger Avestan. The languages are known only from their use as the language of Zoroastrian scripture. So it's all heathen, it's all pagan. That's where it all comes from. In 1835, Sir Henry Rawlinson, an officer of the British East India Company, Jesuits, It smells like Jesuit. British East India Company, isn't that a Jesuitical company?
Yes.
Isn't that the company the United States of America first took their flag from?
Yes.
Oh, that's a coincidence. That's conspiracy theory.
In 1835, Sir Henry Rawlinson, an officer of the British East India Company Army assigned to the forces of the Shah of Iran, began studying the inscription in earnest. Oh, finally someone is doing that in earnest, okay? As the town of Behistun name was anglicized as Behistun at this time, the monument became known as the Behistun inscription. Despite its relatively inaccessibility, Rawlinson was able to scale the cliff with the help of a local boy and copy the old Persian inscription. The Elamite was across a chasm, and the Babylonian 4 meters above. Both were beyond easy reach and were left for later. With the Persian text, and with about a third of the syllabary made available to him by the work of Georg Friedrich Grotefend, Rawlinson set to work on deciphering the text. The first section of this text contained a list of the same Persian kings found in Herodotus, but in their original Persian forms as opposed to Herodotus's Greek transliterations. For example, Darius is given the original Dariavus instead of the Hellenized. Well, I can't read this, of course, but this is in Greek letters then. By matching the names and the characters, Rawlinson deciphered the type of cuneiform used for Old Persian by 1838 and presented his results to the Royal Asiatic Society in London and the Société Asiatique in Paris. So that's the Asian Society in Paris, for the guys who don't speak French. In the interim, Rawlinson spent a brief tour of duty in Afghanistan. Well, many Americans can speak about that, right? Having a brief tour in Afghanistan. Returning to the site in 1843, again, oh, this is a very interesting year. 1843, 1844, we have Tischendorf, we have the Seventh-day Adventists, we have the Edict of Toleration. Oh, this is such an interesting historical date that most of our listeners haven't even heard of yet.
Yeah, every time I hear the name Tischendorf, it reminds me on Dirty Laundry.
Yeah. That's what he got out of the wastebasket anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He first crossed a chasm between the Persian and the Elamite scripts by bridging the gap with planks, subsequently copying the Elamite inscription. He found an enterprising local boy to climb up a rack in the cliff and suspend ropes across the Babylonian writing so that papier-mâché casts of the inscriptions could be taken. Rawlinson, along with several other scholars, most notably Edward Hincks, Julius Oppert, William Henry Fox Talbot, and Edwin Norris, and he is not a predecessor of Chuck Norris, believe me, either working separately or in collaboration, eventually deciphered these inscriptions, leading eventually to the ability to read them completely. The translation of the Old Persian sections of the Behistun inscription paved the way to the subsequent ability to decipher the Elamite and Babylonian parts of the text, which greatly promoted the development of the modern Assyriology. Now, go a little bit into later research and activity. The site was visited by the American linguist A.V. William Jackson in 1903. Later expeditions in 1904, sponsored by the British Museum and led Leonard William King and Reginald Campbell Thompson, and in 1948 by George G. Cameron of the University of Michigan, obtained photographs, casts, and more accurate transcriptions of the text, including passages that were not copied by Rawlinson. It also became apparent that rainwater had dissolved some areas of the limestone in which the text was inscribed, while leaving new deposits of limestone over other areas covering the text. In 1938, the inscription became of interest to the Nazi German think tank Ahnenerbe, although research plans were cancelled due to the onset of World War II. The monument later suffered some damage from Allied soldiers using it for target practice in World War II and during the Anglo-Soviet invasion of Iran. In 1999, Iranian archaeologists began the documentation and assessment of damages to the site incurred during the 20th century. Mali Mehdiabi, who was project manager for the effort, described a photogrammetric process by which two-dimensional photos were taken of the inscriptions using two cameras and later transmuted into three-dimensional images. In recent years, Iranian archaeologists have been undertaking conservation works. The site became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2006. In 2012, the Behistun Cultural Heritage Center organized an international effort to re-examine the inscription. And then it goes on about the lineage, about the territory, about the conflict of revolts, other historical monuments in the Behistun complex. This is probably of interest for when you really want to go into the study of true forgotten history. What else is all there? Similar reliefs and inspiration. Now this is going to be interesting. The Anubanini rock relief, also called Sarpol-i-Zohab, of the Lulubi king Anubanini, dated to BC 2300, and which is located not far from the Behistun reliefs at Sarpol-e-Zarab, is very similar to the reliefs at Behistun. The attitude of the ruler, the trampling of an enemy, the lines of prisoners are all very similar, to such extent that it was said that the sculptors of the Behistun inscription probably have seen the Anubanini relief beforehand and were inspired by it. The Lulubian reliefs were the model of the Behistun reliefs of Darius the Great. The inscriptional tradition of the Achaemenids, what is this name? Achaemenids, starting especially with Darius I, is thought to have derived from the traditions of Elam, Lullaby, the Babylonians, and the Assyrians. And here you see this other, you see how this is quote-unquote similar. Now these guys are not standing but kneeling. This guy is missing in the later work, and this then must be Darius putting his feet up here, and here are the other ones bound there. Yes, Michael, what did you want to say?
I found it very interesting about the time alignment of 2,300 years before Christ, because the Great Flood is expected to be happened at 2,350 before Christ.
2,350 before Christ. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Interesting. Anyway, I just wanted to say something about the flood. Wasn't it Bret who mentioned earlier about pre-flood history, something?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I just wanted to say about Egyptian, you know. I think, and that's my humble personal opinion, we have come to the end of an hour almost anyway. We will continue in the book then next time. In my humble opinion, the pyramids are pre-flood.
Yeah, in my too. I can back that. I think also if you look at the pyramids, you see a different kind of layer in one third height of the pyramids. That's why I always suggest that it could be pre-flood.
I also think so, because it is not only the pyramids but also the Sphinx that were probably made at the same time. And from the Sphinx it is known that there are watermarks on there. And how can there be watermarks in a desert if you don't have a flood? And I also think that the people who were able to build the pyramids must have had pre-flood technology, something that is lost for us today. That is because that is why we today, quote unquote, cannot figure out how they did it. I mean, that's also because they don't tell us that the stones are not stones they brought there, but they were formed there. You know. It is like using cement, or what's it called today? Well, this is Bret's area.
Sure.
He's
No.
He's a
That's
construction
true.
worker.
Yep.
So they were just forming the blocks right there. They didn't bring them from anywhere. This is BS what they're telling you. But in my humble opinion, the pyramids are of pre-flood existence.
It's highly likely, but we cannot prove it.
No, we cannot prove it. That's why I say it's in my humble opinion, you know?
Yeah.
And I can state my
Interesting.
opinion here and maybe set some people to think about these things, because, you know, they always wanted to tell us about Egypt. Everything is about the Rosetta Stone. Everything is about Egypt. Nobody ever speaks about the Behistun memorial that we just saw here. Yeah.
Oh, that's on purpose. Obviously, that's
Sure.
on purpose.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, but that's why I mentioned this. So anyway, I think that was an interesting retreat into that little article. Next time we are going to continue, probably, on page 181 of 410 in the wonderful book from James Edgar Wylie, The Great Exodus or the Time of the End. How near are we to it? And therefore, I have said enough. I want to leave a final concluding comment to my brother Bret, who is the host of this program, and of course probably Brother Michael in Germany, who has something else to say for the end of the program. I thank you for your attention, and go on.
Oh, yeah, really looking forward to getting back to the book, because that's really just an incredible fact that, the ancient history is probably the most delicate history, and it's the most, can we say cloudy? Not very
we can
clear.
say cloudy.
It's not clear
misty.
at all. Yeah. Mystical. Hey, mysticism. Hey,
I just wanted to say misty
pervert the whole
from mist.
world. And that's what our rulers love to do. They love to pervert the truth. They love to rule over us with the rod of Roman iron. And how do they use that Roman iron? Well, they go all the way back to Babylon and everything in between. It's all against us. Nothing is for us. It's all created to keep us dumbed down and stupid, And, that's only true in the world. Come out of the world, as it says in the Bible, come out of her, my people, and be not partakers of her sins, and receive not of her plagues. That is both the temporal and the ecclesiastical realms that we learned in the book, The Divine Program of the World's History, and now we're going to apply it in the Great Exodus, or the Time of the End. And I think it's a very, very thought-provoking what Yerk did in this research in bringing up this subject, because he wanted to go back and reread this chapter. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because we didn't really get this. I didn't. I looked right over it. Oftentimes it's easy to do things like this with old books, because there's just not enough time in the day to even ask the question. That's the problem here, Yerk, is we're so stressed out and politically, political BS, a layer of BS over everything. And, we got to listen to the politicians first. We got to listen to the news. I say, kick it all to the curb and forget about it. That's what my channel's all about. No more politics.
I agree.
I mean, I might put the rhetoric in there just so we can kind of focus in on what these monsters are saying, see what this evil beast is saying, because it's the beast. We're talking about the beast. When we're talking about people that want to rule, people that seek power, people that seek authority over their brothers and sisters. We are all brethren, is what the scriptures say. We're going to keep it that way on the Bret Norman channel. We're all brethren. And those of us that come on our channel and say that we're heretics or whatever, I'm sorry, you're only laying judgment upon yourself. So I don't find any problem with leaving those comments up now and saying, okay, have it your way. You want to judge me that way? Fine. But what is the Lord going to do with you, dear brethren, or heretic, or whatever? God has his heresy and this world has its heresy, and they're at war with each other. So choose your principles very carefully, and choose very, very carefully who you entrust your salvation with. And that's all I got to say.
Choose this day whom you're going to serve, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what the Bible says.
We all got to do that.
And we made our choice here on the Bret Norman Broadcast Network.
And the Jörg Glissman Jogler 66 Hour of the Truth. And, wow, I mean, we are really getting close to some major, who knows? I mean, I can't predict nothing here, but it just seems to me that things have been ripe for quite a while, and we're kind of waiting for this political nightmare to really get rolling. And yeah, I mean, I won't be surprised if it ends up with guillotines and having to go. I mean, that's where I'm preparing for, just to let everyone know. I don't think that there's going to be any toleration with the Antichrist. I really don't. So that pretty much ends it for me, Jörg and Michael. Michael, did you make your comments yet?
No, I didn't.
You have to do that, Michael.
I have to learn to be patient.
We all do, brother.
Yeah, well, I don't have that much to add, but the thing is that every time I'm looking about the so-called human history and history books, and so textbooks and everything, after all, it's always the same. It's just that the Bible is the best history book of all times. And every time that you will check the real history, then you come up with the result that the Bible is correct. And so how to study that much of textbooks when you got the most profound and most important history in the Bible? The things who really counts, you find all in the Bible, and therefore I think we can rely on, and that's my very short, this time my very short end comments, and I'd like to hand it over to Jörg.
Oh, I shot my barrels today.
Yeah, we're done. So
I left it over to Bret, and we are going to finish.
Well, this is really a joint effort between all three of us. You know, we each put in our best 2 cents, so to speak, and we let it go till next time. And yeah, that's what this great Exodus, or the time of the end, how near are we to it study, is all about. I think it's a very thought-provoking title, and I think that we should keep in that realm of study of the title and James Aiken Wylie's work here, because, why is this book not even found on the internet? Why is it that I live near where one copy of how many, maybe 4 copies, maybe a dozen copies at the most that are left of it?
Divine providence, brother.
Yeah, I guess so. But, you know, it's interesting because we've studied a lot about Jesuitism. And I think what I take home from this is that the Jesuits themselves have to have some method of studying their opponent. So to have access to a few books, they have to have that so that they can more finely tune their strategy against any form of Protestantism. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they need to have an opponent in the world. So it's not hard for the enemy to mount an attack against his opponent when he becomes public and makes statements. And then, you know, that's why the Jesuits, they really want to control, in some regard, any form of protest. And that's what a Protestant is, a protester of the Pope, a protester of the papal structure, the ecclesiastical and temporal power in this world. And that's exactly what our politicians are trying their level best to keep from us. They don't want us to know this information. Talk about disclosure. It doesn't lie with Area 51. Give me a break. It lies in the scriptures. It lies in the truth that Jesus Christ gave us. And he has divine providence. Ultimately, it's his creation. It's not even ours. So, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. That's all we got to say here, and we'll catch up with you next time. God bless and bye-bye.
This is the world you are graduating into. This is what I want to talk about today with you for a few minutes. I believe we, and particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping a new world order for the 21st century.
When the wars are fought, the victors tell the story. I'm not giving his words exactly, but that's the gist of what he says. He says, in other words, it is the victors who tell the story. So if you're a defeated Christian small group, then your story is told from the standpoint of those who conquered you. And Pelikan, the modern American scholar, says, and there is no other way, many times, to tell the story.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magus, the more, the better.
That day, His Holiness will be the first Pope in our history to address a joint session of Congress.
The vicious barbarism we'd read about in history books, but never thought we'd see it in our so-called modern-day world.
For the first time in world history, the use of corruption and oligarchs as a sinister tool in the conduct of foreign policy.
We're humbled that the Holy Father has accepted our invitation and certainly look forward to receiving his message on behalf of the American people.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias, to defend religious liberty, and to create a culture that celebrates life.
With NATO's 70th birthday summit just around the corner, some members see little cause for celebration.
As we have seen from trade, climate change, the situation in northeast Syria, and also on other issues. But I also expect that despite these differences, we will send a very clear message about unity.
Countries emerging from chaos in the midst of war, challenges to the international order on the high seas and in the skies.
The fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
And where major powers come together to deal with the challenges of our time that require us all to act in concert. And there are many challenges, including violent extremism.
America is in many ways divided like it's never been before. And the great religious leaders here tonight give us all an example that we can follow.
That we unite around our core task to protect and defend each other based on the idea one for all for one, because that preserves peace and it makes us all safe in an unpredictable and more uncertain world.
We've got to be very strong, very, very smart, and we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.